This is part 3 of the butterfly. We were to do half double crochet up to the second space in the row of the wing. I've also made the second wing because I wanted to figure out the problems I'd had before with the pattern, and I did discover what the problem was. It's the row of 16 gaps here. The way it's written in the pattern, you can't achieve the right number of stitches and you can't achieve the holes ending at the right spot, so I had to adapt that pattern. I'll be talking to you about that when I get there in the pattern. I've also finished the lower wing and I'll be making a separate video about that. So we left off the pattern with making half double crochet up to the second gap, and we've got 3 lobes on the wing. Make 1 single crochet over cord alone, turn the work, and in the pattern it says to make half double crochet up to the space, and they said it'll take about 31 to 32 stitches. So that was right on the ball, 32 stitches to the end of the second gap. It's a little bit of a check to make sure we're on the right track, although it can be that you have a few stitches more or less and it doesn't really matter that much. So now you make 12 half double crochet over cord alone, chain 4, and turn the work. So now we do 23 trebles on the back stitches alone. So we've done 23 treble, now we do 11 double, again in the back loops. And now 6 half double, 3 single crochet. Now around the corner we're going to make 2 single crochet, and 1 half double over the cord in the gap. I'm just going to tighten that because it's a bit loose. And 1 half double at the bottom of the cord, so the last half double that you made on the previous row, you make another half double in that, and you now make 1 double crochet in the next stitch. So now they're saying to make single crochet along this gap like the previous row, and they say there should be about 28. So as you can see, Irish crochet patterns are not always that very concise, and you can adapt it, you can have more or less stitches without it affecting the work. You just have to, it's a little bit something you go along from experience. So I'm making 2 single crochet in the spaces and 1 single crochet above the double crochets. So this is what I've got now. So now we need to make 10 single crochet in the 10 previous stitches and a half double crochet on the previous row, so that would be the foundation row. So in the first stitch of that foundation row you make 1 half double crochet, and now you turn, slip stitch into the first stitch, Now we do 3 single crochet, four half double crochet. So in the pattern it says chain 2, skip 1 and make a double crochet in the next, but if you do that you find that the gaps don't end in the right place. I checked in the photograph in the book and the gaps were ending up at the tip just above where the 11 gaps of the previous row were, whereas on the picture in the book it ends up further along the wing. So if you look here, you see if you follow the pattern your gaps would end up there, and that would then change the whole layout of these 2 top parts of the wing. So after trying a few different things, I then decided to make chain 2, skip 2, make a double crochet in the third, and I did that, and then the gaps end up in the right spot. You see, if it doesn't, it ends up messing up this row, and then the row going back, and the whole top of the wing looks different and it doesn't seem to work out properly. So this is one way. Another way you can go about it is to reverse check the rest of the pattern. So there you would have 5 trebles, chain 2, I think it's 13 trebles, or no, 16 trebles, 16 doubles. So if you check back along the top row, you can figure out more or less where the gap needs to stop. But it is important to get those 16 holes in to make the rest of the pattern make sense. I know it sounds very complicated, but once you've done it, you can see that it is a solution to the pattern. So here I'm going to do chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the third, and I'll do that for 16 so that I have 16 gaps. I will check up here to make sure it's kind of coming out right. So here you can see what I mean. I've got 10 gaps now, and I'm just at the tip of the third lobe. If I had done it according to the pattern, this is where the 16 holes would have ended, and then the rest of the wing doesn't make sense. So here I've got 10. At the top here I'm only putting one gap, one stitch gap. So here we have our 16 gaps, and it ends up a few stitches along from the top here. It's more or less the same with the previous one. And if you look at my first attempt of doing the butterfly, the same thing applies there. I remember having a problem with this wing. I remember trying it a few times before I got it right. And silly me, I should write down my solution. I really should write it down. But time is so scarce and you just forget. All I remember was having the problem. I didn't remember how I solved it. So I hope this helps for anybody trying to make this butterfly. So once we've got the 16 gaps, we now have to do 13 doubles in the back of the stitch. So that's 13 double, and now 16 trebles, chain 2, skip 2, and then 5 trebles, and we should end up at the end. If you have a few stitches missing or a few too many, just adapt your pattern to that. Don't panic too much. It is quite normal with these patterns. Sometimes you do end up with a few extra stitches. So this is the 4th lobe. I ended up making 14 treble rather than 16 because I wanted to keep the 5 treble 2 space at the end of the tip to keep it in symmetry. So obviously the pattern is wrong. So this is the 3rd time I'm making the butterfly, and it's every time I've had the same experience, because sometimes you do doubt yourself and you think, where have I gone wrong, what have I done? But it's just the pattern that's just not working properly. Maybe it's some kind of trick, maybe it's to try and stop us from trying to make them.